Hello, and welcome to the text.pdf document as well as exercises. This first one that we're going to be doing here is dealing with text, and dealing with text in a couple different ways. This is probably the most complicated of the three exercises we're going to do this week, but it's going to sort of lay the basis for what your project 2 is going to entail. I've set a couple things up here. If you sort of noted on the beginning of the document, you'll see that it says that we need stars.jpg and twinkle.wave imported into the library. These are going to help us deal with some of the more complicated things we're going to be doing, mainly dealing with sound and dealing with what is called a mask layer. So let's head into this. So step one, creating animated text. We're going to open Flash. We're going to make a 3.0 ActionScript 3.0 file, and then we're going to do something we haven't done yet, which is modify the document. So I'm going to go to Modify Document, and most of you have probably sort of lived with the default size, which is 550 by 400. This is something that we can sort of change, obviously, just like we change a file size in something like Photoshop. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to change this to 800 by 600, which is sort of a standard web size. And I'm also going to choose a background color. Instead of sort of having a color in as a layer or a graphic, what I can do here is just sort of change the stage color. And I want a dark gray. Okay? So I'm going to click OK. Oh, before I move on, one little sort of tidbit here. This is where the frame rate lives. There was some discussion on D2L about frame rates, and I sort of answered those, or it might have been an email, I think it was on D2L, that generally speaking we want to keep this at 24 frames per second. If things are too slow or too fast, you should adjust on the timeline and not necessarily in the frame rate. That can sort of start down a slippery slope. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, and I get my stage here. Okay, and it's dark gray. Again, that's not a graphic or anything, that's simply sort of the color of the stage. Now, step 6, I'm going to choose Insert New Symbol, and I'm going to name that symbol Twinkle, and I'm going to make it a graphic. We're doing a little twinkle, twinkle, little star exercise here. So I'm going to insert, I'm going to call this Twinkle. I'm going to make sure it's a graphic, and I'm going to click OK. Okay. Now, step 8 says choose the text tool in the text box and then draw a rectangle with the text tool, step 9. So I'm going to go over here. Our text tool is the T, okay? And I'm going to come over here. Remember, I'm inside the graphic. I'm going to click, hold, and I'm going to draw a rectangle, okay? Now, a couple things about this text tool. When you draw something, it should, or draw a text box, it should default up here to static text. That's what we want. There are other types of text, dynamic text and input text. We're not going to necessarily deal with those right now. So I want to make sure that's static text. Okay. Then, as step 10 says, type the word twinkle into the text box. Now I'm going to put my caps lock on, twinkle. I'm going to then make sure my Properties tab is open over here, which I should have already had. And I'm going to make sure that the graphic here, it says sort of make the font 75 point, something decent size. And I'm going to make it bold Helvetica. Now, your computer might have different fonts loaded in. You probably have Helvetica. Helvetica is a very standard font. You can sort of see which fonts you have by clicking on the character drop-down menu there. I'm going to choose Helvetica. I'm going to choose a style of bold. And then it says on step 13, choose a shade of red in the Properties window. I can sort of do that by double-clicking here and then coming over here and choosing my color. Okay, I'll just change it to a slightly different red. Step 14, I'm going to use my black selection arrow here. I'm going to position the graphic in the center hash mark. Now, what we've done is basically created a very, very simple graphic that says twinkle right now. Okay, this shouldn't be anything new. We're sort of setting ourselves up for animating this and dealing with some more complicated issues. Next thing I'm going to do is, while it's sort of, step 15, choose Modify break apart, and we want to do that twice. We've done this on some other things. We did it with the bird. Remember, this takes a graphic of usually a raster graphic. In this case, it's taking text, and we are breaking it apart. The first time we break it apart, it sort of breaks it into singular letters. That could become handy if you were going to animate sort of letters separately. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break it apart again. If you notice now, we get the little dots. That indicates that this is a vector graphic, and this is something that can sort of deal with some of the more deal with some of the things that we're going to be doing with it, particular a mask layer today. So we need to break apart that thing twice. So that's step 15. Okay. Last thing on step 15 says go to scene 1. Okay, so we're set up, we're ready to go. I'm going to go to scene 1. Step 16, name the layer 1 Twinkle 1. Okay, always keeping in mind our organization. So I'm going to name this Twinkle 1. It is very important that we sort of keep our layers organized, especially on this exercise, because we're going to be denoting very specific things about layers that we haven't done before. So it's necessary we sort of keep these things very organized. Step 17, grab the Twinkle graphic from the library and set it on the stage bottom left. Okay, so I'm going to come over to my library. I have my Twinkle graphic. I'm going to put it bottom left. Okay. And then it says create a motion tween over 70 frames from the bottom left of the stage with the Twinkle graphic moving across the stage to bottom right. So we're going to basically move this thing across over 70 frames. Okay. So I'm going to go up here. Insert a frame, I'm going to create a motion tween, and I'm going to do a simple tween across the bottom. Okay, I'm going to double check. I sort of see my twinkle moving across there. Okay? Excuse me. Now it says create a new layer and name it Twinkle 2. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer. It comes up as layer 2. I'm going to name it Twinkle 2. Okay, and it says create a motion tween with the Twinkle graphic from frame 60 to 130 on Twinkle 2. That goes from top middle to bottom middle of the stage. Okay, so we're going to go from frame 60. Okay, and in this case I need to insert a keyframe. Okay, so I'm going to insert a keyframe there because I want to sort of start that motion tween there. Grab Twinkle, and I'm going to make sure that I'm on that keyframe. I'm going to drop it at the top. Okay, I'm going to move ahead to 130. I'm going to insert a frame, insert motion tween, and then I'm going to sort of go to that last frame and move down. Okay, so just to review, if I look at my timeline at this point, I have Twinkle coming in, another Twinkle coming in. You sort of see where we're going with this in relation to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Okay. Now, I'm going to stop the video briefly, just so you don't have to necessarily watch me do this. But it says create a new graphic with the word little, and we're repeating steps 6 through 15. Again, this should be fairly easy for you guys. You're just creating a word called little, and then create a new layer called little, and then create a motion tween from frame 100 to 170 on the layer little that goes from bottom middle to top middle from the stage. Okay, so the little is going to basically go up there. So I'm going to stop the video briefly, get that going, and I'll come back. Okay, back here, and actually I sort of looked ahead and realized that it's probably best to go on to actually steps, not only steps 21 by creating the little graphic as well as the little layer, etc., into the creating a mask layer, which is step 24. So what I've done is I've created a graphic called little, and I've also created a graphic called star. Okay. Now, What we're going to be doing, and I'm actually going to sort of, in lieu of time here, remember I have the 15-minute limit on the videos, I'm going to stop this video and sort of head into a new video, which is going to encompass creating a mask layer, as well as adding sound to your movie. The mask layer is a little more complicated idea, and I want to have a little time to go over that. Okay, so at this point, what you should have is basically the motion tween going. You should have a potentially a layer called little, and a motion tween of star going from 100 to frame 170. Okay, so that will take you up until steps 24. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here and sort of start up at step 24, where we're going to create a mask layer and also get some sound into our movies. So I'll see you in the next video.